lending money and creating money. In the UK, I know for a fact that 85% of all their loans are against mortgages, against properties. So think about the destabilization in our Western economies in America, San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York, all the homeless problem, Portland, Seattle. It's all it's on property bubbles backed by these banks lending money against that. And of course, they generate more and more and more and more profit for themselves because they could basically created a Ponzi scheme against which they're guaranteed to make money, but it's causing destabilization across, all these cities in America and in Europe.
Right. The property is used as collateral, and they lend against property. And what happens? Prices are artificially pumped up and jacked up, and so people can't afford housing. So the way to fix the housing problem in the UK is to take away this fractional reserve banking against property so that prices would come down to the level that is traditionally affordable by the average person in Britain.
Exactly. If they were lending and actually creating an economy, helping everybody, that's what they originally were meant to do, is lend to perhaps risky companies, new startups or companies or businesses to grow the economy. That would be one thing. But the fact is they're just lending it all to a completely speculative venture, which is property, and yet it's causing the economy to worsen because they're also locking people out from being able to move to new cities for new jobs because property is so expensive. But they're not lending to companies. They're not lending to small businesses. Right. In fact, RBS has done the opposite. They smashed and grabbed assets using their ability to create money, issue these loans.
That's why the UK economy is so vulnerable. It's a bit of a monoculture. There's only property speculation. I know from starting companies in the UK, my employees were only interested in speculating in the property market. The idea of having a startup where the stock price goes up and you create a technology company was completely alien to them.
Well, you mentioned Bitcoin, and Bitcoin was a big topic. Here at MoneyConf, of course, we've been speaking here for quite a few years, and now they're introducing CryptoConf. All of these events that have talk about money and banking, they're all having to introduce, they're being forced by Bitcoin to recognize them and start talking about it and what is this. So MoneyConf has a CryptoConf here, and this is here. But this was an interesting story as well in the headlines while we've been here, and this is from the CEO of Lazard. And if you don't know who Lazard are, they're probably the most powerful bank in the world behind the scenes. They are not like, you're not going to go, it's not a high street bank, you're not going to go deposit your funds there, but they are very, very powerful in terms of how they can control the total banking system, the Bank of International Settlements and governments. So here is the CEO of Lazard Bank, and he says, you can imagine crypto replacing the U.S. dollar. Quote, U.S. isolationism could undermine the dollar's status as the world's reserve currency, Lazard Chief Executive Officer Ken Jacobs said. To the extent that we have unilateral foreign policy and unilateral trade policy, we're sort of tempting the world to find an alternative, he said in a Bloomberg television interview. Probably the greatest demonstration of soft power is the fact that the U.S. has the reserve currency of the world. So he says Bitcoin could replace the U.S. dollar.
Well, we're right on track from what we predicted on this show 5 years ago, that at some point the various nation states would have to give up and realize that their fiat money currency systems from central banks don't work. Even Martin Wolf, who's one of the most blue-blooded establishment hacks of the Financial Times, is now essentially espousing Bitcoin and full reserve banking over fractional reserve skullduggery and property market Ponzi schemes in the UK. That's quite a turnaround.
Yeah, but the fact that Lazard Bank is also saying this, and they're the most establishment bank, French bank, and
Lazard Frères, Felix Rohatyn, which was their CEO back in the 70s and 80s, they orchestrated the Municipal Assistance Corporation, or MAC, bond turnaround from New York City. They're the go-to advisors for the insiders of these various nation states, and they have a great reputation. And they see the writing on the wall. They realize that Bitcoin is about to kill all fiat currencies, deader than a bag of hammers.
But you and I have also said here on Keiser Report, you heard this here first, we did say on Keiser Report years ago that when the U.S. started using unilateral power, the fact that we're in a unipolar world led by the U.S. as an empire, they do have a lot of power, but they don't, because as soon as they use their unilateral power, alternatives spring up. When they start imposing restrictions on people accessing the global financial system through SWIFT, for example, we said Bitcoin's going to be used as an alternative, or gold or something like that. So this is what we're seeing with statements like this coming from Lazard Bank. It's not like it's coming from RBS, which has no power on the world stage. Lazard does.
There's two mutually exclusive pieces to the puzzle. If you make America great again, you lose U.S. dollar as world reserve currency. Those two are mutually exclusive.
Well, notice he didn't say that the euro would replace it. He says Bitcoin. Nobody wants it. It would be maybe good to have a neutral platform like Bitcoin, which nobody controls.
I mean, it's not going to be the special drawing rights from the IMF.
That's
Jim Rickards. Jim Rickards. You know, he's wrong. It's going to be Bitcoin. Hey, we got to take a break here at Keiser Report coming to you, a special report. Don't go away. There's plenty more coming your way. I think we're going to talk to Vays. That's right. Stay there. Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. I'm here with Vays. Welcome back.
Hey, Max. Thanks for having me back.
You know, I just want to make one quick comment. I am wearing the exact same outfit, including this leg, that I...